Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about the main scientifically proven benefits of consuming olive oil at night. Olive oil is a food rich in nutrients and brings many benefits to our health. Now, when we consume it at night, it can bring extra benefits to our health. In fact, in this video, I'm going to tell you how much olive oil to consume to get these benefits, the correct way to do it, the best time. You're going to love it. Stay until the end, because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you if you have the habit of consuming olive oil in your diet. What type of fat or oil do you use most often in your daily cooking or to add to your dishes? Write it for me down below in the comments. Remember that I have several videos here on the channel talking about different types of fats, both for cooking and for adding to our meals. I already have several videos talking about the benefits of olive oil. I have videos about butter, margarine, coconut oil, pork lard, the best and worst oils for cooking, and I'll leave all of that down below in the description to help you out. If you like the channel and support my content, don't forget to give your like on the video right now. This is super important to me and it really shows YouTube all your support. So, let's start the video. When we think about consuming olive oil at night, one of the things that stands out the most to us is this. It's about how it helps us control our weight and improve our blood sugar, especially when we consume it at this time of day. A lot of people think that olive oil can make you gain weight, but it all depends on the amount you consume. I'll talk about that with you here later. And often, when you consume it at night, it can really help you because it already promotes a certain feeling of fullness, which will help you eat less at that meal and afterwards, right? It ensures a longer-lasting satiety after that moment. Music. And since olive oil is a healthy fat, it makes that food stay in your stomach longer. It makes it last longer and it slows down digestion even more. With that, it also slows down the absorption rate of everything in the gastric contents. In other words, it makes it slower. And that includes the carbohydrates you consumed at that moment. So it will lower the glycemic index of that meal and help you keep your blood sugar levels more stable throughout the night. This is extremely important for those living with diabetes, prediabetes, or who want to lose weight in a healthier way. The second major benefit is for those who suffer from constipation, dryness, and sometimes even end up getting hurt when trying to have a bowel movement. When you actually manage to go, but only with a lot of effort and discomfort, consuming olive oil at night can really help because it helps lubricate the digestive tract, and especially at night, it stays in contact with your intestines for longer, helps create a favorable environment for you. Music stimulates intestinal transit during the night, lubricates the digestive tract, and moisturizes the digestive tract, and it stimulates gentle intestinal movements. It's almost like it has an effect similar to that of soluble fibers, but in a different way because it acts very gently and doesn't irritate the intestines. And many people already notice the difference in the first few nights. People take olive oil before going to bed, or specifically at night. I'll explain it to you more precisely. Later, I'll tell you the right time and amount. And then early in the morning, you already have that reflex, that urge to have a bowel movement. And people notice a big improvement in constipation. Now, if there's one organ that really benefits from consuming olive oil at night, it's our liver. While we sleep, the liver does a general cleaning, detoxifying our body, metabolizing protein and fat. It produces some hormones and some antioxidant compounds in olive oil help facilitate bile production, as well as some releases that the liver actually produces during the night that help clean the liver itself. The liver is a self-cleaning organ, and these antioxidants in olive oil help preserve liver function when consumed at night. In fact, there was a study published in the journal Nutrients that showed that people who consume extra virgin olive oil every day, especially at night, have less accumulation of liver fat and better liver enzyme levels. So, olive oil can help restore liver enzymes, and an optimal time for you to consume it can actually be during this nighttime period. Another interesting detail is that olive oil can help reduce inflammation in your body. We know that olive oil contains natural anti-inflammatories, right? I'm talking about extra virgin olive oil of good quality. It contains oleoanthol, which is one of the very interesting and well-studied phenolic compounds in olive oil. So it has a very interesting anti-inflammatory role. That's why we say it can help inhibit inflammatory enzymes and can help reduce pain, especially joint pain. If you're someone who suffers from a lot of pain, who has that low-grade chronic inflammation, difficulty losing weight, non-specific body aches, even trouble sleeping, persistent fatigue, olive oil can help you. After all, this low-grade chronic inflammation usually ends up being cumulative. So, having an anti-inflammatory lifestyle will help you, and olive oil will help you too. Now, when you consume it at night, it's even better because, as I mentioned, at night our body goes through a cleansing process and relaxes. So if you can add olive oil at this time, you might get some extra benefits as well. Another benefit could be for cardiovascular health because at night we enter the cellular repair mode. So when you consume olive oil at this time, you take an oleic acid and polyphenols, which can reduce inflammation in the arteries and balance cholesterol by lowering LDL, increasing HDL. And also thanks to the antioxidant effect of olive oil, it can help prevent the oxidation of cholesterol, which we know is extremely dangerous for cardiovascular health. So there are studies that have already found that people who consume olive oil daily can have up to a 20% reduction in the risk of dying from cardiovascular diseases, and 20% is a huge amount statistically speaking. So adding olive oil is a great option, and especially at night when we have this period of cellular repair, it can be even more beneficial for your health. Now, it's impossible not to think about the brain and rest when we're considering eating any food at night, right? And olive oil is no exception in this case. When we consume olive oil at night, we increase the bioavailability of melatonin, which we already consume or even produce in our own bodies, right? Converting the tryptophan from food into melatonin. And with olive oil, we also increase the sensitivity of melatonin receptors in our body. It also improves mitochondrial health. And there are already studies showing that since olive oil reduces oxidative stress, it can help improve brain health in a broader sense, which is really interesting for us. So, regular consumption of olive oil, especially if you can do this at night, can bring very interesting benefits regarding more stable melatonin levels and improvements in your circadian rhythm, making it easier for you to fall asleep and wake up at the same time. And you'll have a more restorative night's sleep with better quality sleep, which will bring you even more benefits. If you're interested in thinking, so how do I go about adding olive oil at night? You have two options. Music. You can either add olive oil to your evening meal, to your dinner, your evening snack, or whatever meal you have during that time in the evening. You can drizzle it over your salad, your soup, your chicken, your fish, whatever you like. Or you can simply take a tablespoon of olive oil before going to bed. Ideally, you should take between a teaspoon and a tablespoon of olive oil, no more than a tablespoon, because otherwise the amount of calories and fat ends up being too high, which can cause discomfort, gastric or intestinal issues, and could even lead to diarrhea if you consume a very large amount. So ideally you should take up to 1 tablespoon before going to bed. And even with these amounts, you'll already see some very interesting results. So if you usually have a meal at night and you prefer to add olive oil at that time, that can be a music option. I say this because there are people who, for example, replace dinner with a smoothie or a well-prepared yogurt with chia and fruit, and in that case the olive oil wouldn't be included. So that's why I mentioned that if you have a more savory meal, right? Because otherwise, if it's a sweeter meal, it really wouldn't work. And maybe your option would be to take the olive oil straight even before going to bed. If you suffer from constipation, I suggest you actually take it before going to bed while your stomach is emptier, because we need to give that intestinal break to really have the intestines more empty, but with less food in your stomach so that the olive oil can better do its job in contact with your intestines during the night to bring good benefits. Music. And 1 tablespoon is already an interesting amount for you. Of course, this will always vary from person to person and depending on the rest of your diet, but a teaspoon or a tablespoon seems to be a good amount for the vast majority of people. Let me know if you use olive oil in your daily life. What type of olive oil do you use? I'd love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. It really helps me out. and share it with anyone who would enjoy it or who needs it. Let's work together to spread this chain of good. That's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. 5.